This is the Tremolator, and tremolo effect. I think people sleep on this a lot. I don't know why, because I love this, and I used to own three Fender Rhodes, um, and I had them, in my in this apartment in New York, and then I would keep them at studios, and I moved around studios so much, and I lent them to people late at night that I forgot. I don't know where any of them are, and it makes me sad because if all you need is a glass of wine or whatever, uh, and a Fender Rhodes, and you can entertain yourself for hours just playing chord progressions, ones that don't even make sense. And it's just magic, the sound of that, right? Electric piano also, it's just in every style of music. Everyone loves electric piano. And from a mixing standpoint, a lot of the time these kind of Rhodes chords, these Wurlitzer chords, um, they provide the good low mids. When we talk about frequencies and the low mids and the mids and the highs, we want to make sure that in every little playground, something nice is happening in terms of orchestration, right? In terms of the arrangement. In the old Fender Rhodes, they had a tremolo effect that would do tremolo. So, what is tremolo? Tremolo is modulating volume, right? Vibrato, for those who can sing here, which is not me, is, vibrato is modulating pitch, and tremolo is modulating volume. So it is as though you walked over to a fader and you were wiggling the fader up and down. So of course, Soundtoys guys made the ultimate tremolo effect called Tremolator, and it's simple enough to use, but it also can be quite complex. So again, this is just the equivalent of taking the fader and wiggling up and down. So for you can wiggle it up fast, down slow, and irregular patterns and all kinds of stuff. So, all right, so let's look at this Tremolator because I love this thing. It's dope. Depth is how far down you wiggle the fader when you're wiggling up and down. Do you go all the way down to silence, or do you just dip it a little bit? Groove is up in neutral position is neutral, and you can either make the groove swing or shuffle a little bit, and we can hear that. Just the sort of the shape of the modulation. Feel is rushing or dragging, and that's just a non-linear spacing between the dips of the fader. You know, Subtle, but it can be cool. Accent 2 is doing every other dip hot, fast or low, and it can make sort of like an upbeat or offbeat bounce to it. Can be very cool. Rate is usually locked for tempo unless you're doing something super abstract, which is fine. So we want to flick the MIDI switch up to lock to the tempo. And then the shape of the wiggling of the fader, or the wiggling of the volume knob, there are all kinds of shapes here. There's a soft square, which square is kind of jerky, kind of on and offish. Trapezoid, ramping up, ramping down, sine wave. And then they made all these crazy preset ones too. All kinds of different shapes. The speed is, if it's locked to tempo, there's eighth notes, quarter notes, all kinds of tremolo things. And then they also made some crazy ass rhythmic patterns as well that have all kinds of stuff. I mean, obviously, look, they went crazy here as usual. Then over here, there is an input output, and also, so we know, you're allowed to distort the input on Soundtoys and see red. Totally legal to do that. You might have to pull the output back. If we go to tweak mode, we see all this stuff. This is the shape of the modulation. Is it quick up and quick down? Is it even? Is it not even? And then here's the rhythm over time, right? Over a grid, the rhythm of the modulation itself. And then you can do all kinds of stuff and draw it in yourself. You can make some crazy, crazy stuff. And here's the shapes of the modulation shapes of each wiggle. Those are your modes: linear, sine wave, exponential, symmetric, all kinds of things. And then there's a saturation category in here as well. And there's no drive, it's just how you push the input. And they all sound different depending on the instrument. Clean, fat, squash, dirt, crunch, shred, and pump. Depending on, what the sound is and how hard you're hitting it, you're going to get some personality here. Since it's width weak, I can't even say that, width weak for us, here is the sickest Haas effect stereoizer with the classic tremolo ear widening wiggle thing that is just hiding under the hood here. That is just so dope. And there also is a split personality mode that is threshold dependent, where you can have a front panel setting of depth and the modulation speed, and then an internal modifier. And you can, when it crosses the threshold, it can trigger the internal settings and you can get a split personality effect, either in envelope mode or gate mode. All right, so that was a mouthful. That was a lot to say. So let's start simple. Let's just hide this crazy tweak mode. And we'll go to a classic one. Here's Fender Rhodes. Okay. So the depth is all the way down. The groove is up. All these are up. It's going to be eighth notes, locked to tempo. And the saturation flavor right now is dirt. Let's just go to fat. Okay. So we'll add depth. We'll start with no modulation. We'll add the tremolo. Okay. Like I said, I could sit there and just play chords for hours at a time with the Fender Rhodes and the tremolo on. Like I'm good for 3 or 4 hours by myself. So all right, so now let's look. So this is a very linear kind of tremolo effect that we have going on here. Let's make it a little bit crazy, and let's cheat, because we're allowed to cheat in Soundtoys because they work so hard on all these presets. So let's go to some rhythm presets here first. And here, if you click there, here's all kinds of ones that they stayed up late at night making in Vermont. So let's just go through a few of them, and then we can kind of tweak them a little bit too. So it's all there's all these kind of preset patterns that are here, and then you can change the shapes as well. And they have presets for those. Here's jumpy, and and you can do the shape preset and the pattern preset, and you can get crazy stuff, all kinds of madness. Okay, so and then you saw I can draw things in as well, and I can draw things here. I can change the shapes. It's the most craziest tremolo effect in the world. Now let's go to the split personality thing here. Now on the front panel is a depth setting and a rate setting. So now we're eighth notes, and we'll go back to fat. We're eighth notes here. Now, if we want a double personality tremolo, which is super cool, we can go to the tweak mode rate modifier and speed it up some. And then we have this attack and release to shape the way the input signal is going to drive the second personality. So bottom line is, if this input signal is below this threshold, no tweak mode is activated. Once the input signal crosses the threshold, it's going to make its way to the tweak mode value. And it's either going to do it smoothly to this value in envelope mode, or in gate mode, jump to that value. So here we go, right? This all the way insensitive, nothing's going to happen. I'm going to start to creep it this way, and it's going to start to split personality jump to the tweak mode internal value, okay? And Soundtoys does this on a lot of plugins, so this is something to get good at and get comfortable with, and you can make some very sick, original sounding effects here. Really cool, right? Super fun. So, this thing too, and like I said, you can also overdrive it to get all kinds of different distortion, which is very legal. And they have sort of like, it has a crunchiness, but it's not a digital distortion. It's a soft clipping that's very, very cool. Okay, so what is Tremolator good on? It's good on anything with sustain. Pads, chords, white noise, things that have enough sustain to enjoy the vibrato. Since you're not going to probably put it on your hi-hat or your tambourine, although who knows, it could be amazing. So start to tremolo, because in a world with so much sidechain pumping, where the pumping and ducking is on the back offbeats, it's nice to have something actually going the opposite direction on the upbeats, right? So, or on the downbeats rather, on the downbeats. Okay, so you can try it on a pluck. I just think you're not going to get the power of it. It really shines on stuff that has sustains. That's really, that's where that's where the magic happens with that. Okay,